where does government funding and attention need to be addressed in Alice Springs?
Kieran, just over a year ago, Albanese came to town and he committed $250 million. We as a community are yet to know exactly where that money's gone. We know that there was about 40 million allocated to education. Big tick, obviously that's necessary. We've got sliding rates of school attendance right across the Northern Territory, but particularly in Central Australia. There's been money allocated willy-nilly all over the place, and we still don't have a full account of where that's gone. We know that there's plenty of money floating around this town through the NIAA, the Aboriginal Federal Aboriginal Agency, which provides funding for a lot of Aboriginal initiatives. There's plenty of money in this town, and yet things don't change. As Jacinta said, we're still presiding over the highest rates of domestic violence in the country. So we all know this isn't an easy fix, but when you come in and you slap a bit of money on the table, let's see where it's going and let's make sure that things are being delivered to make a difference. Because in another 30 years' time, I suspect we'll still be talking about the same problems if there's not greater accountability for every dollar that's spent in this space.
Have things improved since that curfew was imposed?
It definitely provided a circuit breaker. It gave us a chance to breathe and a chance for some people to get out of the house at night, which they hadn't done for years. We've always had a serious problem with crime in Alice Springs. We've always had a rate of crime in our town much, much higher than probably most places in Australia. I think the incidence of crime in Alice Springs, a town of 25,000, is 20% greater than in Darwin, a population of around 80. So that gives you a measure of just how bad things are in this town normally. Although things were better during the curfew, the sense is that things are quickly sliding back to the way they were. It should have been implemented for a longer period, and it should have been implemented for the entire town. But of course, that involves a huge commitment of resources, particularly policing and welfare resources. I'd like to hear the Prime Minister come to town today and say those resources will be available to you when you next need them, when another crisis hits this town, which is almost inevitable. That's what I'd like to hear from the Prime Minister today. Some consistency around commitment to addressing lawlessness in our town.
And just finally, do you think it's at least a starting point, the fact that he, as Matt Cunningham said, he will be there and spending the night there to get the full, or at least a sense of what the full picture is there?
Well, I've got no idea what he's even coming for. No one seems to know. All I know is that he's flying into town this afternoon. I'm fairly certain he's meeting with the Alice Springs Town Council elected members. I'm told that there could be a fundraising event tonight for the local Labor candidates. We have a Northern Territory general election on the 24th of August, and that's all I know. And the fact that there's no more information floating around this town, the Bush Telegraph is usually alive and well when it comes to these type of things, is a little bit curious. So I'll be just sitting back and watching. Obviously, I'm not invited to any of these meetings, but things get out and we'll soon find out what it's all about. His very rare visit to town.
Yeah, indeed. But when you say you're obviously not invited, it would have been nice if you were, given your history and your knowledge of the place.
I've never been particularly Labor affiliated, Kieran. I'm more on the other side of politics. In fact, I'm absolutely from the other side of politics. And in this town, where you've got a Labor Northern Territory government and a federal Labor government, I don't get a gig very often. But I do keep my ear to the ground. I have my sources and I do find out what's going on through other avenues.
Well, I'm glad
as you do.
Indeed. As you said, the Bush Telegraph. Well, I'm glad you got a gig this afternoon with us. Thanks so much, Robyn. Appreciate it, Robyn Lambley. We'll talk to you soon.